For today is Miss Maggie Peary, and she'll be taking us through the presentation. Good afternoon, Maggie. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon, Stali. I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. So, Maggie, we have been running this campaign for some time since it was launched last year in July by CEO. This is our fraud and scams campaign, and we are quite passionate about it. So, could you just take us through what someone needs to know? How do I identify fraud? What do I need to do to protect myself from being scammed? And when in the event that I'm scammed, what are the entities that I should report to apart from the SEC, for example? If there are any other, could you just highlight those for us as well? I'll now hand over to you to take us through.
Okay, thank you so much, Stali. I'll start my sharing so that we can just dive into the discussion, and we'll be able to just share some information pertaining to what Stali has just mentioned. Okay. Kindly confirm you can see my screen.
Yes. Okay. Yes, we can see.
Yes, we can see it. Could you just put it in slide form?
I have. Is it showing there?
No, not yet. Maybe we can just do it again. Okay, that's much better. And just for our audience to know, we also have we're also live on Facebook, and would like to welcome our Facebook audience. And if you've got any comments or questions, please just post them in the chat. We will be able to attend to them at the end of the presentation. Over to you, Maggie.
Thank you so much, Stali. Welcome to our town hall listeners. For those that are joining us for the first time, welcome. Our usual joiners, welcome back. And as Tali had mentioned, my name is Maggie Peary, and today's topic will really be on how to identify, avoid, and report scams and fraudulent schemes. So the coverage for the presentation will start with just briefly about the SEC, the definitions of scams and frauds, the common types of frauds and scams, the tips on how to identify them, how to avoid being a victim of frauds and scams, how to get in touch with the commission, and then we'll be able to close. So to start with, the Securities and Exchange Commission is a statutory body. We are the regulators of the capital market in Zambia. We have a dual mandate. We protect the investors as well as promoting the development of the capital market in Zambia. So frauds and scams are really sometimes used synonymously, but there is a close relation. But I think for our presentation and also just for the general understanding, there is a difference between the two. So a simple way to distinguish them is based on how the deception is carried out. So firstly, fraud is a broader legal term which refers to the intentional deception designed to result in financial or personal gain or loss of another party. While scams, on the other hand, is more used to describe deceptive schemes aimed at tricking individuals into voluntarily giving money, information, or access. So if you look at the two, mostly scams deal mostly with manipulation. You voluntarily give out, it could be access to your finances, it could be giving your finances themselves, while fraudulent schemes are defined, as I had mentioned earlier. So in our presentation, we have highlighted, so our act does, it does guide us on what fraudulent transactions are. So under our section, section 197, it does guide that fraudulent transactions happens when a person directly or indirectly in connection with any securities transaction employs any device, scheme, or artifice to defraud another person or engages in any act, practice, or course of business which operates as a fraud. So key to mention here is fraudulent transactions. We are dealing with those transactions in securities. So securities transactions where we focus on, as well as scams, those also that are within our securities market. So with that said, remember we did mention that scams deals a lot with manipulation. The scammers really dwell a lot on manipulative tactics to be able to just earn trust, and where people now at the end of the day voluntarily give their funds. And examples of such are fake investment platforms. So these are the ones that mostly promise guaranteed high returns. So these are cases where you'll find there is an investment platform that's promising you invest 500 kwacha and get 5,000 kwacha in 7 days. We've actually seen some platforms where they would say invest 500 and get 2,000, for instance, in the next 2 hours. So such investment platforms are really there to manipulate you to think you can be able to just give your money and it will be able to grow in such a short period of time, and as well as with a guaranteed return. We do know that all investments, there is a risk to them, but for these ones, it's risk-free and it's guaranteed returns. So that's an example of a scam. Another one is impersonation of licensed CMOs. This could be any of our licensed operators, someone or an entity pretending to be them so that you may be able to give them funds. And sometimes it could be impersonation of a regulator themselves, seeking to get certain fees, certain amounts from unsuspecting investors. All those are examples of a scam. Ponzi schemes or pyramid schemes, those are also scams where you are meant to believe that the more you recruit and the higher the returns, the more funds and the higher the returns you will be able to have. So those are the ones that really just promote you recruiting a new member, and then they'll give you a bonus for that. And really, when you get to the back of it, you find that the monies that they get to pay the very first people who invest in those are not because the funds that they got were invested, but it's based on the new recruitments and the fees, entry fees that they get to pay. So now we move to examples of frauds, and we note that some examples include unauthorized trading in securities, where you do have securities, and examples of those are shares, bonds, units in collective investment schemes that are managed by the fund managers, could be derivatives. So it's where you have the shares or you have the units, but then they are traded. They could be sold without your authorization. That's a type of fraud within our sphere. As well as false or misleading disclosures. This is where an entity could, for example, just give misleading financial statements or misleading information just to get more clients. That's fraud as well. Trade manipulations is also a type of fraud that we have, where people get to just play with how the securities will operate and predetermine really how it will turn out. And that's a type of trade manipulation, and that's fraud. Soliciting funds from investors and claiming they will be invested in securities. So this is where could be a person, it could be an entity, they pool funds and they claim that the funds will be invested in bonds, and yet not. So firstly, that person will have to be licensed, but then even that particular conduct itself is considered as fraud. securities, fictitious securities offering, where you claim to be selling bonds and yet not. Once you get the funds, you use them for other reasons and other activities. You are defrauding the people. So that's another type of fraud, as well as misrepresentation of the licensing status. That is another type of fraud, where you do state that you are licensed, you get funds from people. So the decision for an investor to invest would have been made on the fact that you told them that you're a licensee by the commission. So the fact that you have received those funds is fraud as well. So now we'll move to tips on how we can identify the frauds that we had mentioned in the previous slide, as well as scams. So firstly, the promise and reasonably high returns in a short period of time. Like I had earlier mentioned, under a scam, they'll tell you just invest 1,000 or 500 kwacha. Within 2 hours, you'll be able to get your returns. Within 1 week, within a very short period of time, you'll be able to get your returns. That's a tip that should be a red flag to tell you you need to probe a little further about that particular entity doing that. The other tip is they use high pressure sell tactics. It's usually quick, or they'll say, oh, we need one last person to join. The investment will soon close. They just want you to invest quickly as soon as possible. That is really just to reduce on the chances of you verifying them, as well as researching a little more about that particular entity. The other tip is there's lack of verifiable information. Usually when the entity or the product being offered is offered to you, even when you try to research, you try to find out a little more, you find that there's no information. That should be a red flag that should trigger to say, maybe this could be a fraud or a scam. The other tip is you're not allowed to talk or share about the investment. And mostly they really just request you or require you not to talk to regulators, do not talk to the police about this. And there could be scenarios where they tell you, if you talk to the police or you talk to a regulator, you will not get your returns. And maybe you're trying to recover what you have invested. That is another red flag to say this could be a scam, this could be fraud. Another tip is there's no contract that is provided in writing. There's no proof that the transaction that you actually made even happened. And once that happens, that's another red flag. And mostly, I think I had mentioned about the recruitment aspect. And mostly this is where the funds for the people that are paid, that's the first recruits get, is from the fees that new people get to pay, and not necessarily from proceeds in an investment. Another red flag or another tip to identify fraud and scam is the unlicensed investment professionals, as well as unregulated products. So I'll be quick to mention that all our licensees authorize everything authorized by the Securities and Exchange Commission is found on our website. So if you actually have an interaction with an entity and you're not sure, as well as investment advisors, so you interact with an individual giving investment advice, you can verify on our website, so that you're able to just tick this tip off regarding unregulated products, as well as investment and licensed investment professions. The last tip on how to identify frauds here is complex strategies. So in most cases, the desire of the scammer or a fraudster is they hope you do not ask the questions. And so they'll try to make it complicated for starters for you to even understand. So you can imagine you enter an office and what they say is our proprietary algorithm leverages quantum computing and AI-driven arbitrage strategies to guarantee risk-free returns of 30% per month by exploiting market inefficiencies. Even I can't even say it. So an investor trying to listen through and understand what they would be saying, it would be very difficult. So next thing, you just surrender your funds in something you barely understand because their strategies are complex. And the reason is they do not want you to ask. So from here, we now move to how we can avoid being a victim of the frauds and the scams. Firstly, we have to be smart investors. And how can we do that? Number one, we need to ask questions. Do not be ashamed to ask. Do not be shy to ask. That's your money you need to protect. And so ask as many questions as you can. So if it means inquiring on, are you licensed? Is the product we're investing in licensed? Okay, the funds you're getting, what are you investing in? Such kind of questions. And mostly you'll notice that once you begin inquiring a little more, most of them will just tell you, then you're not serious in investing with us, mostly because they do not want to tell you. Number one, we're not authorized, it's not licensed. They don't want to be found out. So the best you can do is ask as many questions. Number two, verify. Verify, and I did mention with regards to our website, having the list of licensed CMOs, that's capital market operators. They're there on the website, but in the next slide, I'll be able to show you and just demonstrate how you can be able to reach the commission and how you can get in touch with us. So verify with the commission, verify with other regulators that you may need to verify information with. Tip number 3 is conduct your due diligence. This really just requires you to conduct some independent research about the scheme, about the products being offered to you, and find out just a little more on what you are signing up for. And the fourth one is high returns are usually a big red flag. So there's a saying, and I think as the commission, we say this a lot. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. So if you can see that when you put in 500 kwacha and you get 5,000 kwacha in 2 hours is a little impractical, it's a little, then it's best to avoid that, at least you fall victim of a fraud and a scam. So we have various ways in which you can reach the commission. Firstly, for walk-ins, the commission offices are actually located, we actually opposite East Park, off the Great East Road, in Libala Road, in Kalundu area in Lusaka. Can also call the SEC telephone line, which is 227012. You can send an email to the commission, and the email address in which you can reach us on is info@seczambia.org.zm. You can visit our official website, and that's the how you can access that website. The link is there. So it's on that website, you'll be able to find a platform where you can reach out to the commission. We have a window or a box where you can more or less like lodge a complaint. So that's information that you can put in there, and once you submit, we will be able to receive that information. You can also follow our official social media platforms, as well as follow the WhatsApp channel for the commission, and this is really important. And I'll be quick to mention that the commission has been issuing scam alerts. We have been proactive, we've been alerting the public, and just last year in 2025, the commission issued 15 scam alerts. So if you do not follow maybe our Facebook page and you don't go on the website, you could have missed it, and you could have invested in what the commission already issued an alert on. So it's just good and beneficial to follow this, so that you are also up to date with some of these scam alerts that we may issue, and as well as public notices that we issue to the public. So in conclusion, the issue of scams and fraud, the Commission has avenues and ways in which we do identify, but together we are able to just go even more further. You know, a fraudster and scammers, like Stali did mention in the preamble, they actually wake up every day finding more innovative ways of scamming people. So if out there you know of potential a suspected scam, or you know of some fraud happening, you've seen some of the red flags that we have mentioned here, please feel free to also just reach out, so that together we may be able to put our hands together and just try to reduce on the prevalence of scams and frauds on our market. And with that said, I wish to thank you for listening. And at this point, I'll be able to end my presentation, and I'm ready for any questions. And remember, together we can reduce the prevalence of scams and frauds. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maggie. That was a very elaborate presentation and straight to the point. That was really, really interesting. Thank you so much. As Maggie has alluded to, there's a lot of scams out there, and the Commission is not blind to that fact. That's why we have been very proactive in our scams campaign and in issuing cautionary announcements, and just cautioning the public to be aware of scams that are out there. So we'll now open up the floor to some questions. If you've got any questions, please post in the chat, as well as you can raise your hand. We will be able to attend to your questions. So let me just check if we have any questions in our section, in our chat section, for Maggie to quickly attend to. Okay, I can't see any questions. Sichon, if you could just tell us if you have any questions on Facebook as well.
We have no questions on Facebook.
Okay, Maggie, maybe just to start the conversation, you can just take us back to the slide where you had how to identify the scams. There's a slide where you with the types of frauds, I think.
All right. I'll do that. Did the types of scams?
Yes.
Okay. All right. This one? Is it this one?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So here I'll start with the example you gave of fraud, actually. You mentioned this type of fraud where you can have someone unauthorized, where it's unauthorized trading in securities. Just thought you could give us a bit more details. How does this happen? Because we do know for someone to trade, I need to send in an instruction to a broker and give the instruction to sell my shares or to buy shares. So in the event that it's unauthorized, what exactly happened? Could you just take us through that process?
Okay, so now this is a case where, remember, so trading, like you have mentioned, so trading in our shares could be in selling of your bonds. The unit has to be authorized, right? But then there are cases where somebody can come up with a device or a strategy or a scheme to just bypass all that. That in itself is fraud. So if at all anybody has maybe shares in an account and all of a sudden you didn't authorize, but your shares have reduced in number, or maybe you don't have the shares anymore. Us finding out what happened to those shares is determining as to who committed that fraudulent activity to be able to get, yes. So that's what we mean. So it's really trading in securities, not just shares in any type of the securities as per defined in the Securities Act. It could be a sale of your bond without your authorization. It could be the sale of your units without your authorization. All those are that particular conduct is what the Act defines, or what the Act guides to be fraudulent, because it's a scheme or it's a tactic to defraud the other.
Okay, great. That's good to know. And then I know the most common type of fraud that we hear about is this for impersonation, about
Yes.
or about entities purporting to be licensed. Yeah. How are we dealing with that as a commission? Maybe you can just elaborate for the public to know what exactly we are doing in the case of people impersonating licensed CMOs.
Okay. So the commission has ways. We actually well, without necessarily explaining which ways we have, but we do sweeps and identify anything that could be suspicious. So if we find that there could be a suspicious impersonation, could be of a CMO, it could be of a regulator, and I think this has been common. We have seen several operators or CMOs issuing their own alerts to say there's impersonation of our company, or there's impersonation of the CEO in that company, claiming to have investment opportunities, for instance. So we have ways in which we identify those, and we have been proactive in terms of issuing alerts to the public, as well as working together with our CMOs in looking and handling these matters.
Okay, thank you so much, Maggie. So you have mentioned that we are working with our CMOs in handling these matters, but we have a question from Billings Mwale, who's asking if we've also partnered with other regulators such as Zicta and other financial service providers to prevent scammers or fraudsters from defrauding the public.
Okay. So I think
Yeah.
to respond to that, Stali did mention about our scams awareness campaign. That is one of collaboration in preventing scams. Raising awareness is one step. Once people are aware, then the chances of them being scammed is reduced. So we do work together with other regulators, other institutions, in this very campaign of scams awareness and frauds. And as well, the Commission has MOUs and collaboration forums in which we work together with could be our sister regulators, being the Bank of Zambia and the PIA, and just the other regulators, because we note that on our own, the scams that are coming out there, we are unable to just handle them. We have to work in collaboration with other regulators for us to just eradicate or reduce the frauds and scams on the market.
Yeah, perfectly said, Maggie. Thank you so much for that. Just like Maggie has alluded to, maybe I can just add that so the reason that we're doing this is for example, sometimes that you find a case where a scam or some fraud happening somewhere has been reported to the commission, and we may find that maybe it's not in our mandate, so to say. So it's then passed on to another regulator if it falls in their space. So that's exactly why we are, like Maggie has rightly put, that's why we are collaborating. And entities like Zicta are actually at the center of communication. So any sort of fraud that's going on, at least can be monitored there. And That's why we've partnered with them in order for us to simply just make sure that we're not letting anything fall through the cracks. And then Maggie, we have another question. This one is from Elizabeth Sikombe. Elizabeth is asking, how do you handle situations where maybe fake investment platforms provide fake documents with fake government stamps, and now they present them to individuals who can't differentiate legal documents from fake ones? So as SEC, what are we doing? How is SEC handling such things?
So I think in handling those kind of investment platforms, I think like I had mentioned in the presentation, we have a website as well as the commission it's an open door. You can get in touch with us and verify. So before you actually even invest in these, you can verify to say, is this investment platform authorized to collect funds for us to invest? You can find out. So in as much as they may have a fake stamp from the commission, even if it's fake and it's presented there and shared with you, if you verify with us, if it's not licensed, we will tell you that it is not. So in as much as you may have those, and if you do suspect that this could be fake, because it's very easy nowadays to do that for people, you can verify. You can verify, and the commission will be able to just guide you to say, in as much as you have those documentations with this stamp, that entity or that particular product is not authorized, or that entity is not licensed by the commission.
Okay, great. Maggie, thank you so much for that response. Pambo Chulu is asking, do we also work with the anti-fraud unit of the Zambia police?
Yes, so we, like I had earlier mentioned, we work in collaboration not only with Zambia Police, but with other regulators in handling and tackling this issue of frauds and scams. So it's really a whole chain of regulators coming with their hands together to just look into this matter.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Maggie. Rightly put. Thank you. So maybe I can just mention to the public right now, to our listeners, that because this topic on fraud and scams is so close to our hearts as a commission, and also like Maggie has rightly put, we do work in collaboration with other institutions. Next month's town hall, that is the the August town hall, we will be looking at a topic which is cybersecurity for investors, knowing how to protect your accounts and personal data. And this will be done in collaboration with Zicta. So that is something that you may mark in your calendars, and just it will be as a build up to the conversation we're having here today. So it's something that you may look forward to, and just prepare questions on how best you can protect yourself from cybersecurity scams, cyber scams rather. Okay, moving on. Let me see if we have any more questions. Okay, I don't see any other questions here. Let's check on our Facebook. Which one? Any Facebook questions? I think we have nothing there as well. Which one? Could you confirm?
Yes, we have nothing on
Okay.
Facebook.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, Maggie, you have a few more minutes to go. Maybe you can just take us through why someone shouldn't fall for. You mentioned if it's too good to be true, then it probably is. And this is a saying that our CEO loves very much. Like if something is too good to be true, it probably is. Could you just elaborate on what that exactly means and why one shouldn't fall for something that is too good to be true?
All right. So we do know that every investment comes with a risk. And then you see an advert inviting you to invest and it's risk-free. That is too good. When you look at the very fact that there is no risk involved and maybe the returns that are being promised are beyond if you invest maybe 500 and you get 5,000 in 2 hours, that's really just too good to be true. And mostly, like I had said, really scams dwell a lot on psychology and manipulation. They know that it will attract you. They know that it is just too good to be true that you would want to jump on board. But once something is too good to be true, you should be able to question that and just verify what that is.
Yeah, very true, Maggie. In our investor education talks, we usually tell the public that one thing they should ask themselves is, what exactly did this entity invest in that grew overnight?
Mhm.
Because in the investment realm and also just in the capital markets, we do need to understand that the products that we're dealing in are long-term in nature, meaning even the interest or the growth of this product is long-term. It doesn't grow overnight. It's like planting a tree today. I do not think tomorrow we'll be able to see the fruits of this tree, right? So that's something that our investors out there, our public out there, just need to be informed about and need to know about, and to take caution when something just sounds like it grew overnight. What exactly did, ask yourself some pertinent questions. What exactly did this entity invest in? What kind of returns are these? What is the underlying asset they're talking about? That will also just help us just to avoid the too good to be true kind of scams. Yeah.
Yeah. So really, even
Yeah.
on your example, it's like the scammers want you, what they would promote or sell is plant a mango seed and get a mango fruit in the next 2 hours, or get a mango fruit in
Yeah.
7 days. It's not possible. It's just too good to be true. And so we need to question that.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah. Very true. Uh, okay. Thank you so much, Maggie. Our audience, we have a bit more time. We have 10 more minutes to close our presentation. Please send in your questions if you've got anything that you want to ask. There's no dumb question. Every question is relevant. And like Maggie rightly put, you need to be a smart investor. And one of the things that we promote here at the commission is that a smart investor is a knowledgeable investor. And that's the only way you're going to get knowledge, by engaging and getting to ask the right questions, get to ask as many questions as possible in order for you to get to be a smart investor. So the floor is still open. And we have another question from Pumulo. Pumulo Scotta is asking, is there a way hacker can tell that this institution or this company is a scam before registration? Maggie, there's a question for you. Is there a way that hacker can tell?
Unfortunately, we, for us, we are with the commission. We cannot speak on behalf of another entity such as PACRA themselves. So I cannot, at this point, guide on whether they can tell that this institution is a scam or not at registration. But that would be a question. Maybe we can reach out to them and we can get back to you as to, or we can get back to you as to whether they can detect, if at all they have mechanisms that allows them to detect application, if that's a scam or not.
Yeah, rightly put, Maggie. Thank you so much. So Pumulo, we will get back to you. What we will do is we'll reach out to PACRA, and in our next town hall, we will be able to just see if we can have this question addressed. We'll reach out to them and just find out if they have a mechanism like Maggie has said. So please be sure to join us in our next town hall so that we can just shed more light on your question. We have another question here. Are there meetings? This is from Elizabeth again. Are there meetings on fraud and scams identification held in local languages just to help those who can't understand English? Okay. Maybe I can take this one, Maggie. So we do understand that most of our programs and um, are in English, but what we've done as a commission, we have taken a deliberate move to try and translate some of our material to local languages. So we do have some material in Nyanja, Lozi, I think Bemba as well. We are rolling out to all 7 local languages, the main local languages, all 7 of them. So you will find commission information translated to those languages. Further than that, we also, when we do get to go to our provinces, the different provinces and do awareness campaigns, we try as much as possible to speak in a local language in that particular province. For example, if we're in the Eastern Province, we are speaking in Nyanja there, and we're on a local radio station so that we can just get the public there to also understand what we are saying. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Elizabeth. And then Patrick is asking, are all the listed companies on the LUCE good to invest in? Here's a trick question for you, Maggie. Yeah.
Okay. So the commission registers securities, and so all the listed companies on the LUCE have their securities registered with the commission. However, I think your question with regards to are they good to invest in, I'm not sure if you mean financial benefits when you invest in them. Unfortunately, that would be information that would be availed to you by a licensed investment advisor, which we are not. So for that, you'd have to reach out to a licensed investment advisor, and the list of the licensed investment advisors are outlined on our website, so you can be able to find that. If you get to talk to someone, you can also verify with the commission to say, is this person licensed to give me advice on the good ones to invest in?
Yeah. That's left in the preserve of the investment advisor, Patrick. So we would advise you to reach out to an investment advisor to give you advice on which of the companies you can invest in. Okay. Then we also have another question from Godfrida. Godfrida is asking us how frequently we train or induct the media on investment, as well as alertness on fraud to help us do more sensitization. Godfrida, that's a very good question, and I'll take it. So what we do as a commission, we do engage our media on a quarterly basis, which is through our CEO's quarterly media brief, where we update the media or the public through the media on investments. So we give a brief on the performance of the capital market for each quarter, and that is done to the media, who then disseminate this information to the public. Then in terms of fraud, we have taken another step where we are going to host media training. Apart from training the media in investment issues, we are also going to train them on fraud identification and scams, so that even as they are doing their articles and sending information out to the public, they are also aware and also able to help us just notify the public about scams and frauds that are out there. The media are a very important partner to the commission because they do help us disseminate information out there. So a training for the media is actually very important because it will then make sure that the information that is going to the public through the media is correct information, because we would have had a trained media. Maggie, there's another question for you here just before we wrap up. It says, so when you see an organization, this is from Blessings, when you see organizations out there advertising products that are likely to be scams, do you highlight those right there?
So if you do suspect that they're advertising products that are likely scams, you should, especially if you intend on investing, and also just to help in terms of identifying these scams and frauds. So you can reach out to the commission and share that information. So you can highlight those entities right there.
Okay, thank you, Maggie. David is also asking, what are the punitive measures you take against listed companies who breach the regulations on investments in order to protect aggrieved investors?
Okay, so there are a number of measures that the commission can take. So once we do investigate and we determine that indeed there was a fraud that took place here, there are a number of ways in which and measures that we can handle and look at the company. So it could be fining them. They could be fined. There's public censures, private censures. The license, if they are a licensee, they could be revoked as well. So there are various ways in which the Act gives us powers to handle such matters. So we have to, once we determine and we have proved that there is a fraud here, the Act gives us various alternatives that we can use and approach in ensuring that the investors are protected later on in the future.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Maggie, for that. Okay, let me check if we have any other questions. I don't see any. Maggie, what are your final words to our audience today and to the public, our audience on Facebook? What is the key message you would like them to go away with today concerning fraud and scams and what we are doing as a commission?
Okay, I think takeaway is let us be alert. Let's be vigilant. Scammers are coming with more ideas on how to get your hard-earned monies. They are innovating, but let us be a step ahead. Let's do what we can to protect ourselves. We've talked about some ways. Let us ask as many questions. There are some companies that will actually shout at you because you're asking too much questions, but you have to because you work hard for that money. So let's ask as many questions. And like I had mentioned also in the conclusion, together, the commission as well as other, the investors, the public, if at all you notice any, you can share with us because together we can reduce the number of scams on our markets and frauds that could be happening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maggie. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We have come to the end of our town hall this month. It has been an interesting topic on fraud and scams, on how we can identify fraud. As rightly put in the presentation, we would like you to be a smart investor. And like Elia said and stated, a smart investor is an informed investor. That's what we believe here at the Commission. So we are trying by all means to make sure we have information out there to the public so that you are able to be well informed, so that you can make well informed investment decisions. And as part of you being a smart investor, it will be important for you to ask the right questions, do your due diligence before you make any investments, find out about the product that you want to invest in, so that if it sounds too good to be true, as Maggie has rightly put, you do not invest in it, and that you know that it's a wrong product, and that it's definitely a scam once you've identified that. So Maggie, thank you once again for joining us and for making this presentation. And our audience, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us again next month for another interesting town hall. Thank you.